Hey guys. So on this week's episode of Geeky AF, we're going to be discussing the conspiracy aliens from Star Trek: The Next Generation Season 1. So a couple of weeks ago, I had slightly brought up the Icheb character and how it was kind of one of the darker points of Star Trek Picard Season 1, how they handled the character, most notably the taking out of the eye. And when a lot of us had that problem with the character, um, quite a few people walked away from Star Trek Picard season one at that moment. It was kind of uh, the equivalent would be like in The Walking Dead when Glenn got his skull bashed in by Negan. A lot of people walked away and they chose with their remotes how they would they go somewhere else, basically. Um, so a lot of people defended the position, though, of handling the Icheb character with, well, in the Next Generation, they had the conspiracy aliens. Was that just as graphic? Because that guy got obliterated by this phaser fire, and then this alien bug comes out, and it's all, and then that gets destroyed. Like that's just as graphic. And that poses a really interesting question. We tend to look back in the past because something may have a cheesy effect or not, as not being as graphic in the here and now, as opposed to the time as it being really, really graphic. Take into effect, go back to George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. At the time, those were pretty scary graphics. Even though by today's standards, it's little to nothing. Anybody could do that with a cell phone, and it's not hard to do or replicate those things because of modern technology. But we tend to look back with rose-colored glasses and tend to look at things with kid gloves per se. Um, so, looking at those aliens, were they justified in the horror aspect of those aliens? Um, Certainly, if we were to do something like that now, uh, it it wouldn't necessarily be treated as the same. Look at the Gorn um, on Star Trek, on Strange New Worlds. Those are treated very similar to Alien, the xenomorph from the Alien movies, which I'm a big fan of. I enjoy that. The fact that you can, in the Egypt situation, the excuse of, well, it's streaming service, you can get away with more, and it was looked at as a negative from a lot of us fans. It's now seen as from Strange New Worlds, like, yeah, cool, you can get away with more. Yeah, let's see more Gorn. It's not so bad, probably because it's not a beloved character that you're ripping the eyeball out of. It's just you know killing off the engineer of the Enterprise, and oh well, who cares? I jest. But it does pose the question: did they go too far with the alien from Conspiracy? Um, I would say, for me personally, my personal opinion, I would say it depends on who's watching. Again, we look back with rose-colored glasses and kids' gloves when depicting a yes or no answer, but I don't believe it's as clear cut. But I would say Royce, my son, he wouldn't be able to watch that conspiracy alien uh, scene. Um, I would say it would probably be disturbing for him to watch the worms where they eat the worms. That would probably be a little too creepy for him, considering he's still at that age where you probably don't want to. Um, Most people don't realize that the show went from PG to, for that episode, PG-13. And there's a reason why. It's too graphic for some audience. So I would say it really does depend on who's watching. Um, and it's just like with Star Trek Picard. I wouldn't let Royce watch the Icheb scene, nor the scene where Worf is slicing the head off of that Ferengi. That's certainly something we would never see in Star Trek: The Next Generation. Of course, we had our more family-friendly fighting scenes, um, and moments where Duras got stabbed with the batleth, but it was nothing like it wasn't as graphic as the Ferengi's head getting sliced off. It's not as in your face. But I would say the conspiracy aliens were a bit more in your face with that, especially for back then. Uh, Again, going back to George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, what they had back then, uh, budget wise, we could do with you can go down to any mom and pop's magic shop and practically replicate what they did there. And we wouldn't see anything wrong with their, little shop of horrors, for a film. And it's not scary at all to us. But back then, it was terrifying because they hadn't come up against those things. Uh, so um, I would say, given the fact that at the time, that little alien creature probably scared the pants off of a lot of people, as opposed to now, you look at that and you go, it's pretty cheesy. It really just depends on who's watching, the age range you're watching from. Um, Context really does mean a lot for a lot of people, and it makes you wonder, like, where we're going to be at in 20 years, looking back at this, and wondering, like, where that bar just keeps moving, that line, that goalpost, because we've let a lot of things slide, in terms of what we accept, just in generality. So my personal stance again isn't that it went too far. I personally don't mind it, but I remember as an 8-year-old or 9-year-old watching that scene, it always stuck with me. But I wasn't scared. I was watching a lot of behind the scenes of Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street type stuff, getting used to that. I've always been fascinated with filmmaking, but most kids aren't that way. They don't see behind the curtain. It's not like the Wizard of Oz, where they're peeking behind the curtain and they want to know how everything's made. So understanding that a core audience, you have to be receptive to that. So, but what are your thoughts? Do you think those conspiracy aliens went too far for the time? Do you think those things are acceptable now for a mainstream audience on TV? There's the fact that a lot of us don't have TV and we just go by streaming services now. Because that's the audience has changed. We no longer watch TV the way we used to. We don't sit around the TV, and most of us don't, and eat dinner around the TV like we used to. Like, times have really changed. So that context is also something you take into account. So what do you guys think? Like, there's a lot of factors on this one topic. But what do you guys think? Please comment below. Let me know, and let me know your thoughts. And if you like this video and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and you'll see more. So that being said, be genuine, be safe, and keep on geeking on, guys.